Wicked is here, and it is taking over the world. Everybody's going crazy over Wicked. Now, if only there were somebody on the internet that would have warned us to not think this movie was going to flop based off the controversy. If only there were somebody, and that somebody is here. You, from the start, have been saying adamantly, do not think this movie is going to flop. It's going to have a huge opening weekend. And after that, who knows what's going to happen? Now the reviews are starting to roll out and people are loving it. The target demographic is loving it. I'm not going to watch it. You're not going to watch. I don't know if you're going to watch it. I mean, I do hate that I kind of missed out on the Barbie discussion, but I just never watched Barbie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There is a chance, like if a girl gets me there this weekend, that might be what it is. But I'm not going by myself. That's for fucking sure. But yeah, it's just sometimes I feel like in this space, the internet, which listen, when you're watching this video and that video and that video, you can sometimes be a little bit immune to the reality surrounding movies like this. It's why when people were saying about Barbie, I thought they were being retarded. I thought that Barbie was going to be massive from the beginning. And I saw the same thing. I saw the writing on the wall with this movie. The audience that this movie is made for, it's not just a handful of people with pronouns in their bios, like for something like The Acolyte, and trying to take a male brand and turn it into a female brand. Wicked is extremely popular and has been for decades. And they made the movie for the people that love that musical, that love that play. And it's doing awesome right now. And I expect it to continue to do really awesome throughout the weekend because that audience exists. And that's okay to have movies that are specifically geared towards
yes.
And like there's nothing wrong with that. In the same way that there's nothing wrong with having movies and franchises and IPs that are specifically geared towards men. The problem comes when you have these IPs, when you have these franchises. Imagine they tried to make Wicked, but they're like, we're going to make it for dudes. And so all of the people that have loved that IP, that have been going to Broadway plays, that have been crying their eyes out when they watch these musical numbers and a story about friendship and overcoming differences, all this shit, right? All of those people would have hated if they had done that. And that would have failed if they had tried to make Wicked for dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's that simple. And I saw a lot of people, especially when we started talking about Cynthia Erivo and the dumb shit she said, that's like, wow, she just guaranteed this movie will flop. This movie's going to fail. I'm like, y'all need to slow your fucking roll because you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. And again, we've been, as Geeks and Gamers and a lot of the individuals here, like we've always been advocating for it's okay to make movies for people that are interested in those movies. What a crazy, crazy scenario here. Hey, this audience that loves this movie, we should make a story and characters for that audience and quit trying to make it a wider audience and a wider appeal, because ultimately people will show up to a good movie. And so it looks like right now, based on what you're hearing, the core audience for Wicked loves what they've done. That's okay. And if that core audience goes out and supports it financially and they're successful, that's okay. Yeah, I saw Jeremy Johns gave a review of it too. He gave it a good review, positive review. He obviously said he's never read anything on it. He's never seen the play. He knows nothing about it. But from a movie, standpoint and a storytelling standpoint, he said it did feel like a little bit of a setup, almost like because it is a part one, so there was a little bit left on the table from that perspective. But I'm happy that people are happy with it. And now hopefully we can kind of move away from this agenda-driven bullshit and get us back on track with like making movies for the people that are interested in them. And if you do that, you tend to get a bigger audience when you start to hear that the foundation and the core audience is happy and there's discussions and everything, and people go, oh, word of mouth starts picking things up, social media starts going crazy with reactions, and then normies start going, oh, well, everybody's talking about this movie, I got to go check it out. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. That's how Star Wars became Star Wars, through people loving it and becoming like telling their friends about it. Word of mouth. It's a powerful thing, especially in the social media age.
So we'll see Gladiator and Barbie. People are talking about what they're calling Glicket or whatever the fuck.
That's so dumb.
It's Listen,
That's dumb.
it's not going to be as big as Barbenheimer, just because I don't think quite the interest levels there. And it's similar because you got a female target audience, and then this IP that obviously is probably more men are going to come out and watch something like Gladiator 2. I don't think either of the movies are going to reach the heights of their comparators, but we'll see. Gladiator 2, its problem is its budget. That reported budget, I've seen some things that say 210. Well, we did have a reported budget that it went over budget to $300 million. And if that's true, this movie's going to struggle to make money. Like, if you're setting yourself up where you need to hit $900 million to break even, you're kind of fucked, right?
Yeah.
Wicked, $150 million. So what they did with Wicked is they filmed both part 1 and part 2 back, and it cost them around $300 million. So the budget of the first part is around $150 million. Second part's around $150 million. So that path to make money is much easier than obviously something like Gladiator with how expensive it is. I saw Gladiator last night.
And
I don't hate it or anything. I don't think it's shitty. I think it's maybe a little bit better than average, like maybe a 6 or something. I think that the main character, certainly the problem with it is you're going to compare it to the first one, and the first one is a damn near perfect movie. Like, I don't know if there's anything I would change about the movie Gladiator. And I think Russell Crowe's Maximus is a super compelling character and like what you see him, how you see him start, what you see him go through, his motivations of not only revenge, but also of continuing on and honoring the wishes of, Marcus Aurelius and what he wanted for Rome. And Lucius is not as compelling as a main character, but a lot of the same vibes are there. They're still about chasing that dream and turning Rome into that dream that his grandfather wanted. They do a lot of honoring Maximus throughout the entire thing. They reveal something that a lot of people had speculated from the first movie about the relationship between Maximus and Lucilla. Pedro Pascal's character in it, I don't want to give away like super spoilers or anything, but Pedro Pascal's character is actually similar to Maximus in terms of a general who is ready to put an end to these things and ready to stop some of the crazy emperors that are in charge of Rome, but he still gets set against Lucius because of something that happens early in the movie. So I certainly didn't hate it. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it or anything, but I don't think it's stay away from this movie type of thing.
Right.
It's fine. I think people can go and have a good time. I would watch Gladiator before you watch it if it's been a while since you watched it, so you can remember all of these references and themes and interactions that you're talking about. And they have a couple flashbacks of things sprinkled in there to make you like remind you if it's been a while since you've seen Gladiator about the relationships between these people. I will say, because I did mention Denzel's character. His character, like, to me, that was like the most disappointing part of the movie because I like Denzel Washington. I don't think he delivered like a super, like a, oh my God, what an incredible performance or anything. And his arc, I feel like it goes from like 0 to 60 real fucking quick. And in a movie that's like 2.5 hours long, I feel like it shouldn't feel that quickly paced when those things happen. They obviously do set things up, but I just feel like it happens really quickly. But overall, they tried to recapture elements of the first one with sometimes changing things around. Hey, look at this gladiator trainer who, at first he just wants what he can get out of his gladiator, but then slowly he kind of becomes kind of a good man and is willing to do this to help his gladiator in Rome and all this stuff. Yeah, kind of the inverse in this one. Shit like that. They try to replicate a lot of elements about the first one while changing some characters' alignments, I suppose you could say. I didn't hate it. I had a fine time.
Do you think it's going to do decent at the box office?
It depends on how we define decent. I think if this was a movie that had cost somewhere around $150 million, I think that you can look at it and be like, okay, I think it might do well. But because of its massive budget, if those $300 million reports are accurate, ultimately it could make $700 million and still end up being a financial failure if that's true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that just makes it tough.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the whole, I guess they're trying to, like, the whole thing about Barbenheimer, that wasn't forced. That was just a natural kind of reaction on social media that kind of evolved. And if they're trying to force that into this with these movies, I don't think that's going to work. But I do think that it feels like Wicked is going to have legs based on the reaction, whereas I don't feel like Gladiator is going to have a lot of legs.
Well, another thing you have to keep in mind is Moana 2 comes out on Wednesday for Thanksgiving weekend, and that's going to be huge. Like that is going to be massive. So there's going to be a lot of movies fighting for this space here over this Thanksgiving holiday, which is probably going to be really big. But I mean, we got some of the initial numbers right here from Thursday previews. Box office, Wicked earns huge 19 million from week-long previews. Gladiator 2 soars to 6.5 million on Thursday alone. Two tentpoles are kicking off what's expected to be the biggest Thanksgiving in history at the domestic box office, which welcomes Moana 2 on Wednesday. Call it whatever you want, Glicked, Wickiator, or Barbenheimer 2.0. The only thing that matters, the domestic box office is springing back to life in historic fashion thanks to the combo Universal's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2. So, fueled largely by females and gay men, Wicked grossed a huge 11 million in Thursday previews from 3,300 cinemas for a total preview of 19.2. So obviously they had like a Wednesday special screening and a Monday special screening. So if you just look at the pure Thursday, about $11 million for Wicked, which puts it above things like The Little Mermaid, which puts it above things like Wonder Woman from, several years ago. But what they're expecting is certainly an over $100 million opening. Some people have it projected as high as 130 or so for that, which would be huge. Reminder, Barbie, I think, took 165 million in its opening weekend. For Gladiator, 6.5 million on Thursday. People are predicting potentially a $65 million opening for Gladiator 2. Gladiator 2 is probably a movie that's going to do much better internationally than it does domestically in general. Already had a big opening weekend last weekend, like $90 million worldwide, because it just did international opening. So, yeah, I mean, both of them are solid, certainly. I think Wicked's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, and we'll continue to follow it. The first weekend's going to be huge for Wicked. It's going to be, how does that word of mouth carry the movie beyond that? And I think that's the big question. Even with people that are going to be excited about it, is it going to hit an audience that it's not intended for? And I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm not interested myself, just like I wasn't interested in Barbie. I'm not even really interested in Gladiator 2, to be honest. I don't care. It's not a sequel I was asking for. Maybe 10 years ago, it would have been something I was interested in, but we're too far beyond it. Was there the gay kiss? Was there any type of that in it? Like, did they have any hints of anything with Denzel?
So one of the emperors, while they're sitting there, one of the emperors is surrounded by women, and another one has a gay dude on his side. But they also established that the emperor is actually insane, and I think he probably has syphilis and has gone crazy. So they do have that. Denzel at one point says, now he does greeting and kissing people on the hands and stuff. And at one point when he's like intimidating this person to get to work for him, he gives him a couple kisses on the cheek, like a greeting. He does mention at one point when him and this other guy are drunk and he's trying to get information out of him. Someone speculates that some random character prefers the company of men, and Denzel's like, hey, depending on the day, sometimes so do I. It's kind of in passing, but I wouldn't call it. It's not like a super gay movie or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what the kiss that got cut would have been. I don't know where exactly that would have been in place, or maybe that whole thing got cut in general. I'm not sure.
Jason Gallagher says all Jeremy cares about is Orange Man. I mean, I haven't talked about Trump, but if you want me to, I can talk about him right now. We can make the whole show about Trump. I don't have any problem with that at all. If it would piss you off, I would gladly do that. We could talk about his case being dismissed in New York. We could talk about his potential CIA or FBI picks. We could talk about just a list of things. So I'm all for that. So shut your fucking mouth or I'll talk about Trump the whole time.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like, I see some people. They had a gay dude. It's like, well, in the first Gladiator, guess what they do after Maximus wins that first one? He gets pulled up there, and he's like, hey, what can I give you? What can I offer you? Women, men. Like there's references like that because he's assuming that Maximus might be into dudes. So there's things like that in the first one too. So that's why I think maybe that's a little bit overblown. But I don't know. It wasn't something I was like, oh God. I rolled my eyes a little when Denzel had that line, but I think everyone's freaking out about everything.
We'll see. We'll see how the box office goes for both of these films, but I'm happy that people are happy about Wicked and the Gladiator 2. I guess we'll see.
We shall see. Yeah, and then someone has, the first Gladiator was gay too. You guys just didn't know it. It's like, all right. Well, first Gladiators, I think a fucking masterpiece.
Yes.